Epic Originals presents Nellie Nutgraf, the double best reporter in history, The Big Scoop. Written by Tom Engelberger. Illustrated by Gillian Reed. Performed by Ramon Diocampo. Chapter 7. Almost nothing surprises Nellie, but this did. You're friends with the Queen of England? She asked. Yup, said Nessie. We have the same first name. She's really nice. Every day the Queen flies by and feeds me sardines. She'll be here any minute. The Queen can fly? That'll be a huge scoop for the big city big news. Well, it's not like she has wings, said Nessie. She uses a jetpack. Not as good as wings, but that's still a pretty good story. Say, here she comes now. Whoosh! The Queen came a-swooping by in her jetpack, a-tossing sardines right into Nessie's super big mouth. Excuse me, called Nellie. Your Royal Highness? The Queen threw a sardine into Nellie's mouth. Blech! Nellie hates sardines. But you can't spit out one of the Queen's sardines. So she swallowed it. Like I told you, Nellie will do anything to get a great story. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions and take your photo for the big city big news? Sure. Just let us put on our crown, said the Queen. Huh? Said Nellie. She always says we or us instead of me or I. Why? I don't know, shrugged Nessie. Maybe you should ask her that. So Nellie did. Queen explains weird we. For years, the Queen of England has famously referred to herself as we. For example, we are not amused. We would be delighted. And we cannot get the gosh darn lid off this ding-dang yogurt. The royal court has never dared to ask why. But now, for the first time, the Queen explains her unusual word choice. When I say we, I am talking about myself and my imaginary friend, Bobo the Dancing Unicorn. We agree about everything, except for toothbrushing, which I do a lot more than Bobo. When reached for comment, Bobo said, "Ever try holding a toothbrush with a hoof?" Chapter 8. Nellie also asked the Queen where to look for Sherlock Holmes. The Queen didn't know exactly where to find Sherlock Holmes either, but she agreed to fly Nellie around London to look for him. "Hop on, Toots," said the Queen. Nellie climbed onto her shoulders and whoosh! The Queen took off. "Cool, blimey!" yelled the Queen. "You weigh more than we thought." "It's probably my typewriter," said Nellie. "It's kinda heavy." "Kinda heavy? That thing must weigh a ton. It's too much for the jetpack. We've got to turn back." "Foo! Spotter! Ooh! Sploink! Ooh! Wheeze!" The jetpack fizzled out. "It's too late!" yelled the Queen. "We're gonna crash! Look out, Nessie!" The monster ducked just in time, and Nellie and the Queen went right over Nessie's head and crashed into London Bridge. Smash! "Phew!" said Nellie. "Luckily, all my spare typewriter ribbon broke our fall." "Yeah," said the Queen. "That was lucky. But look, our crown's dented. We just know the Prince is going to make a big fuss about that." "Forget the crown!" yelled Nessie. "The crash wrecked the bridge. It's falling down. Run for your lives!" The Loch Ness Monster was right. London Bridge was a tipping and a twisting and a falling down. "I can't go around running for my life," said the Queen. "It isn't dignified." "Hop on, my fair lady," Nellie told the Queen. The Queen jumped onto her shoulders, and Nellie sprinted off the bridge onto solid ground. Nellie grabbed her camera to take a picture of the disaster. "This will be another scoop for the newspaper." "Sorry, Toots," said the Queen. "Looks like those kids beat you to it." A crowd of adorable little kids was dancing around in the street and singing, "London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady." "Actually," said Nellie, taking a photo of the adorable singing children, "this will be another scoop. Children invent beloved folk song." Suddenly, the window of a nearby building was thrown open, and a man with a pipe and a funny hat stuck his head out and yelled, "Stop singing that beloved folk song! I'm trying to solve a mystery up here." Chapter 9. Nellie couldn't believe it. It was Sherlock Holmes himself. Nellie said goodbye to Nessie and the Queen. Then she ran over and started a-banging on that door until Sherlock stuck his head out again.
"I'm Nellie Nutgraf," she said. "I've come all the way from America to interview you for the Big City Big News. Can I ask you a few questions and take your—"
"Not now," shouted Sherlock. "I'm trying to solve a mystery, for crying out loud."
"What's the mystery?"
"I'm going to call this one Sherlock Holmes and the Case of the Toothy Terrors."
"What's a toothy terror?"
"That's the mystery. Geez, now stop asking me questions." The whole point of an interview is for a reporter to ask questions and learn something they didn't know before. If you think that Nellie Nutgraf was gonna give up, you should remember that she's the double best reporter in the history of America. And now she was determined to be the best in the history of the world, too.
"Listen, Sherlock, if I help you solve the mystery, will you let me ask my questions?"
He said. "Actually, I could use some help. My assistant, Watson, hasn't shown up yet." Just then, something started a-buzzing and a-ringing. "Ah, that's my telegraph. Looks like a message from Watson."
"Sherlock, help! My big toe is trapped under a fallen tree. Come to Sherwood Forest right away." "Sherwood Forest?"
asked Nellie.
"Isn't that where Robin Hood lives?"
"Of course not," said Sherlock. "He's a fictional character. Now, come, Nellie. The game is afoot." The detective grabbed a really delicious-looking meatball sub and ran out the door. Nellie ran after him.
"How are we going to get to Sherwood Forest?"
she asked as they ran down the street. "We're going to ride on a new invention called a locomotive. It's really fast." They dashed to the nearest train station and jumped on a train that was just about to leave for Sherwood Forest. The locomotive hissed and grumbled and finally started to move. The name of this locomotive is Catch Me Who Can, said Sherlock. We're actually going 7 miles per hour. Isn't it thrilling? Can you feel the wind in your hair?
No,
said Nellie. Me neither, said Sherlock. But that's because I'm wearing a dumb-looking hat.
This could be a long trip,
said Nellie.
How about you let me ask you those questions and take your picture now?
Sure, said Sherlock. Just let me put on my dumb-looking hat.
You're already wearing it.
Oh, yeah. I forgot, he said.
World's greatest detective ready to quit detecting. Sherlock Holmes plans to hang up his dumb-looking detective's hat for good.
I'm sick and tired of being in all these mystery stories, said Holmes. You know how they are. Find a clue, find a clue, find a clue. More like, find a new plot, am I right? As soon as I solve Sherlock Holmes and the case of the Toothy Terrors, I'm finished.
However, Holmes says that he hopes to continue starring in novels, as long as they don't involve mysteries of any sort.
What I'd really like to do is switch to romance novels, said Holmes. You know, the ones with a lot of kissing. Yeah, that's what I like. Lots and lots of kissing. Chapter 10.
Wow,
said Nellie.
I've gotten a lot of scoops today, but that's the biggest. Thanks, Sherlock Holmes.
Whatevs, he replied. At last, they arrived in Sherwood Forest. They jumped off the train and immediately saw Watson with his big toe stuck under a fallen tree. How on earth did you get your big toe stuck under a tree, my dear Watson? Asked Sherlock.
It was the Toothy Terrors,
said Watson.
They chewed it down and it fell on me.
That's ridiculous, my dear Watson, yelled Sherlock. You must be... Chomp, 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 chomp! Just then, a tree fell on Sherlock's big toe. Ow! He yelled.
See?
Snapped Watson. All right, said Sherlock. Don't get huffy, my dear Watson. We've got to figure out how to get ourselves loose and then solve the case of the Toothy Terrors.
I've solved both of those already,
said Nellie. What? Cried the detective and his assistant.
The Toothy Terrors are beavers,
Nellie told them. What are beavers? They asked.
They're North American animals that chew down trees.
What are North American animals doing here in England? Asked Sherlock.
Paul Bunyan brought them,
explained Nellie.
Who's Paul Bunyan?
Asked Watson.
He's the friendly giant lumberjack who is going to lift those logs off your big toes,
said Nellie.
Then she hollered, Hey, Paul!
And I came out of the forest and said, Hi, Nellie, and picked up the logs that were on their big toes. Can there possibly be a logical explanation for all of this? Asked Sherlock. Of course, I said. See, I was a-telling the beavers the story of Nellie going to England to interview you, and they were a-chewing the words into trees in America. But then we had to follow her over here to find out what happened next. Suddenly, a beaver came running out of the forest and began chewing letters into the tree that had bit on Watson's big toe. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Find out what happened next, chewed the beaver. That's not logical at all. It's absurd, shouted Sherlock. Chomp, 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 chomp. That's not logical at all, chewed the beaver. It's absurd. Stoppeth, yelled someone new. It was a fella dressed all in green with a funny hat and a bow and arrow. It's Robin Hood, yelled Sherlock. I thought he was a fictional character, said Watson. So are you, my dear Watson, said Sherlock. Oh, said Watson. Wilt thou both shut it up, yelled Robin Hood. Somebody stoppeth these animals from chewing down my forest. But the story isn't over yet, I said. Actually, it is, said Nellie. I've got a bunch of big scoops, and I think it's time for me to get back to the big city big news so they can be on the front page of the paper tomorrow. If I wait too long, someone else might get them, and then they wouldn't be big scoops anymore. So I got the beavers to make a raft out of all the logs. Then Nessie gave us a big push. We made it back across the Atlantic just in time for Nellie to turn in her stories. The next day, they were all on the front page. The paper sold 1 million copies and made so much money that Hotshot Terbletsky got another copy, and Brian the editor agreed to pay for Nellie's next trip. Great, said Nellie, because I heard they're about to send astronauts to outer space. I want to be there when Neil Armstrong takes his first steps on the moon. Extra, extra. You've probably heard the old song, London Bridge is Falling Down. But did you know that there really is a London Bridge? Spanning the Thames River in England, this bridge links the city of London to Suffolk and has existed in some form since AD 55. Find out more in the book London Bridge is Falling Down by Michael Allen Austin on Epic. Sherlock Holmes is a fictional detective created by the writer Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in 1887. He uses his amazing powers of observation and logic to solve difficult mysteries. You can read some of the original Sherlock Holmes stories in Favorite Sherlock Holmes Detective Stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle on Epic.